The plastic seats in the Greyhound station dug into Carla's back. Everything she owned, 2 suitcases, her son's old backpack, and a sack of bills rubber-banded together, sat at her feet. Outside, Asheville thundered with late spring rain, the kind that turns the mountain air heavy and scents the earth like old tea leaves. Carla's cell phone buzzed, displaying a balance so low it might as well have said, "Why bother?" Her son, Dylan, hunched beside her, tracing the lines of his palm with his finger as if divining hope. "How much do we have left?" Dylan's voice was quiet, always quieter when he was scared, a trait he'd inherited from her, along with the stubborn streak and the overgrown cowlick. Carla forced a smile, thumb over the number on her phone. "Enough for 2 bus tickets and maybe oatmeal for dinner." She meant to sound light, but the words dropped between them flat. Only 3 days ago her uncle's lawyer had droned the news. "Sorry, Carla, seems your branch got the short end." Family reunion ended in red faces and laughter for everyone else. What did she get? A postcard and the keys to an abandoned coin laundry, long boarded up in a dying corner of Burnett, North Carolina. Aunt Marcia had crowed over the gift. "Guess he wanted you to keep busy, Carla. Maybe you'll wash up your luck." Even Dylan had caught the barbs, shuffling his sneakers on the brittle carpet. Marcia, always the practical one, had watched with a glitter in her gray eyes as if daring Carla to challenge the arrangement. Now rain hammered the station roof. Carla jiggled the keys in her palm, sharp teeth biting her skin with each shift. Attached was a dog-eared business card for Burnett Sparkle Wash Attendant, N.A. Dylan watched the dark out the window, hugging his knees. "Do we have to go there, Mom?" "We do, Bud," Carla said, just above a whisper. "It's the only thing left for us, and maybe it's not as bad as we think." The shuddering optimism sounded hollow even to her. She couldn't have imagined the secrets a crumbling laundromat might hold, or that a set of rusted machines would become the axis of a conspiracy she never asked to unravel. But she had nowhere else to go, and a mother with nothing to lose is a force no small town should underestimate. If you've ever been handed a joke when you needed a lifeline or laughed at when all you did was survive, keep listening. Some coins are worth flipping. The rain let up just long enough for them to drag their suitcases to the waiting bus. Dylan muttered, "At least Burnett's not far." The bus stank of diesel and wet coats. 2 hours of switchbacks and patchy cell signal, and the mountain town emerged, one long street, lights flickering in the dusk. As they stepped onto cracked asphalt, Carla's shoes squelched. Dylan eyed the boarded storefronts. "This place feels like last place in a relay." "Let's see if it has at least one finish line," Carla replied, heart pounding as they walked the 3 blocks to the Sparkle Wash sign, a paint-peeling, swinging board creaking in the wind. Carla jammed the first key into a lock thick with rust, knuckles white. Nothing happened. Tried another. This one turned reluctantly, the door grating open as a waft of hot, stale detergent musk flooded her senses. Dylan wrinkled his nose. "Smells like gym socks and dead hope." Carla flicked on the overhead light, illuminating rows of washing machines, half the lids propped with sticks, coins jammed in some, others so clean they sparkled suspiciously. A battered utility sink gurgled in the back, and someone had left a crate filled with yellowed receipts beside a crusted mop. There, taped to the inside of the first dryer, a scrap of paper curling with age. Carla peeled it free. The words, scrawled in blocky caps, read, "Only the clean get paid, look under cover 4. Carla's hands shook. Just a prank or a scavenger hunt from the uncle she barely remembered. Dylan cocked his head. "This is weird, right? Like, are we on a game show or something?" Her laughter came out brittle. "Wouldn't that be ironic? We don't even get a prize for showing up." Still, her pulse quickened with a strange flicker of hope. She crossed the sticky linoleum, crouched, and pried open dryer number 4. A wave of dust choked her, and something metallic slid against her knuckles, an old ring of keys lacquered by grime. But there, too, another note, "Basement, don't let Marcia see." Her breath caught. Marcia's fingerprints, figuratively, felt everywhere these days. A thunderclap sent the lights flickering overhead, but the world inside that old laundry spun on a different axis now. The stairwell down to the basement had been hidden behind a warped utility shelf, wobbly as a house of cards. Carla shouldered it aside, scraping her wrist, biting back a curse. Dylan hung at her shoulder, flashlight from his backpack cutting a thin yellow path down brick steps. Old memories stung, her uncle's annual calls always cut short by Marcia. Busy woman that Carla, can't keep a job, can't keep a man, she'll be just like her mother. Was that why he left her this, a test she'd likely flunk? Partway down, Carla fumbled, almost tripping. Dylan caught her sleeve. You good, Mom? Yeah, Carla lied, swallowing the tightness in her throat. Shadows skipped across the peeling paint. Just the first time for everything. At the bottom, the basement stretched wide and cold, rows of forgotten vending machines, a sagging cot, a file cabinet with its drawers locked tight. A single bulb flickered overhead, giving the dust an eerie shimmer. Dylan's feet thudded on the concrete. Why would Uncle Reed have all this stuff down here? Carla's answer stuck. She thumbed the keys, one heavy, square cut practically buzzing in her hand. She squatted by the file cabinet and shoved the key in. It gave, opening with a squeal like a warning. Inside, ledgers, handwritten logbooks, and at the very back, a battered manila envelope marked Sparkle Wash Day's End. Behind it, something heavier thunked, a small cash box and a packet of photos bound with twine. She withdrew the envelope, fingers trembling, pulse loud in her ears. Dylan craned to see what's in there. Only one way to find out. Carla ran a nail under the adhesive and appended the envelope's contents. Receipts fluttered out, then, taped to a faded register tape, a key fob with a university emblem and a stubby USB drive, its plastic cracked but intact. Who keeps a USB in a laundromat? Dylan whispered. Carla rolled it in her palm. Someone with a secret they couldn't tell, she whispered back. Upstairs, the faint jingle of a bell sounded, the door. Carla froze, every hair on her arms bristling. In the silence, she heard Marcia's nasal twang echo in her mind, and an urgent terror thrummed through her even as no footsteps came. She pressed the items to her chest, eyes darting, mind racing. Hook point, this place was more than just a punchline. The USB drive pulsed like a live wire in Carla's hand all the way to the public library, their next stop. Carla tugged Dylan behind her, heads down in the drizzle, past the shuttered antique shop and the diner with the buzzing pies sign. The librarian, a grave-faced woman named Joyce, eyed Carla's mud-caked shoes. We close in 30 minutes, she intoned monotone. Just need one computer, Carla said, heart wild. Joyce shrugged. Last row, no funny business, please. The way her gaze lingered on Carla made it clear she'd heard stories already. The small-town pipeline was ruthless. Dylan perused a comic, pretending not to worry. Carla jammed the USB drive into an ancient Dell, breathing slow through her nose. The files blinked to life, a series of spreadsheets, each tagged with cryptic initials. Some looked like standard laundry receipts, others unfamiliar codes, deposit slips with crazy high numbers, and scanned IDs for half the town's council members. A jargon-filled folder, SW4 Revenue Integrity, held a slideshow dated just weeks before her uncle's death. Scrolling down, Carla's eyes widened. Someone, probably Reed himself, had compiled an audit. Huge sums had been routed through the Sparkle Wash, a laundering operation both literal and criminal. Dylan sidled over. What's that number? He squinted. Over 2 million from Dryer Profits. Not Dryer Profits. Carla's mouth went dry. Stolen grant money, and look, there's Marcia's name and Mayor Atkins, half the town's here. She tapped more files, finding scanned checks, payout schedules, laundry day bonuses. Her blood chilled at a final entry. IF found, trust no one, even family. The screen flickered, and with it, the kernel of an idea. We need help, real help, Carla managed to croak the words. Dylan surveyed the empty reading tables. You think the police would believe us? Not sure, Carla pocketed the drive, but if someone finds out I dug this up, she let the fear radiate between them. Outside, thunder rolled again. Joyce tapped her watch. Carla stuffed the papers and USB back into Dylan's backpack and hustled him toward the exit. The time pressure burst open inside her. She had 42 hours less, really, before the Sparkle Wash was scheduled for demolition. Demolition she'd overheard at the reading of Reed's will, backed by Marcia's smirking assurance that the city needs a new parking lot, dear. Anything hidden inside that building, soon to be dust. On the walk to the only person she could trust, her high school friend and now Burnett's most notorious muckraker, Lyle, the doubt chewed at her resolve. Dylan panted to keep up, shoes slapping puddles. Why don't we just show the files to everyone? Because if Marcia sees our faces first, she'll bury us and the truth, Carla snapped. Dylan frowned, stubborn. She can't hurt us with everyone watching. So we get someone bigger to watch, Carla grimaced, someone with a bigger nose for trouble than Marcia. Lyle answered her pounding knock with wary eyes, half-eaten sandwich raised. Well, if it isn't the Sparkle Queen herself, need quarters or a miracle. Carla forced a shaky laugh, both but mainly a favor fast. He waved them in, dark eyes narrowing with old affection. His cramped office reeked of burnt coffee and newsprint. Dylan slouched in a metal chair, eyeing stacks of manila folders. Carla dumped the USB and documents between their hands. Read fast, Lyle, I have less than 2 days before the city bulldozes everything. Lyle scanned the files, face blanching. How deep does this go? He muttered. All the way, Marcia, Atkins, maybe more. Read he tracked it all, didn't he? Carla's voice was rough. Lyle's chair screeched. This could turn City Hall inside out, but it needs legs. If Marcia gets wind first, you and I both know she'll play the widow card until no one listens. Dylan intoned, sarcasm sharp, she'll be mayor herself before sunrise. Lyle shot him a startled grin. Kid cracks wise, that's good, it's gonna be a rough ride. Carla asked, almost desperate, can you get this in front of someone who'll actually do something? Listen, Lyle's voice dropped low, if these paper trails hold up they'll call in state investigators, but you have to give me something hard, a statement, a signature, proof you didn't hack this. She nodded, fine, I'll testify whatever it takes. Her pulse skipped at the vow, no turning back. You get it to the right people, she pressed. My sources eat City Hall drama for breakfast, Lyle fired back, already stacking the evidence. A brief flash of pride ran through Carla's nerves, jagged but real. With someone on her side, the walls didn't feel so close. Marcia, somewhere out there, was surely tightening her grip. That night at the rundown motel, Carla lay awake, listening to Dylan breathe. The line between desperation and boldness had dissolved. She was out of money, almost out of time, but finally holding the power to make things right. Daylight slashed gray through window blinds when her phone buzzed. Lyle. You need to come now? The mayor's office is in meltdown. Someone leaked a photo of the payout schedule. Marcia's calling a midnight emergency meeting at Sparkle Wash. She thinks you started this. Carla shot upright. What are you saying? She's telling people you forged the whole thing to steal the property. Carla sat dizzy. Dylan watched her, frightened. So we're running. Carla bared her teeth. We're fighting, but smart. We need a decoy. Dylan piped up, I can do it. She flinched. No, you stay with Lyle if anything happens. No, I'm coming. If Marcia wants games, I can be a distraction. Dylan's jaw set, eyes shining with more conviction than he'd ever shown. Carla saw herself in him, fierce and scared. Fine, we go together, but you stay in the car unless I say otherwise. They rushed from the motel, Lyle's battered Corolla rattling to Sparkle Wash under a rising pink sun. The parking lot bristled with cars, Marcia's BMW front and center, flanked by an older Chevy, and Carla recognized uneasily the black SUV the mayor always used. She gripped Dylan's shoulder. Remember what I said, stay, watch. Dylan nodded, I know, I'll text as soon as anything's weird. Carla smoothed her hair, tried to settle the adrenaline thunder inside her, and walked straight into the gaping mouth of the laundromat, where Marcia already waited. Inside, Marcia adjusted her suit jacket, platinum ring glinting. Oh, Carla, I wondered when you'd slink in. Mayor Atkins hunched beside her, eyes bloodshot. 2 large men in windbreakers, city staff or muscle, hard to say, hovered by the door. Carla didn't flinch. You wanted to see me, I'm here. Marcia's smile had too many teeth. It's you, isn't it? Spreading filthy rumors, manufacturing evidence like a soap opera reject. The mayor snapped, we're prepared to press charges. You broke into Sparkle Wash, stole city property. Carla cut him off. Everything I have is Reed's, my Uncle S. You want to talk theft? Let's start with embezzlement. I've got all the logs and I sent them to Lyle at the Courier. Try to bulldoze this and the state police will bulldoze you first. Mayor Atkins froze. Marcia stepped forward, voice icy. You have no idea what you're meddling with, girl. City needs progress. Reed, he was a lonely, senile old man. Carla's breath came sharp. That's why you used this place to clean up grant money literally. I've got USB's notarized logs. Tell me, Marcia, how did it feel to cash those checks? The two men stiffened, one of them shifted, unease flickering across his jaw. I'm giving you one chance. Carla locked eyes with the mayor. Call off the demolition and resign, or I upload everything right now. State police, attorney general, even the feds. I've got backup in every direction. Atkins' hands trembled. If you're bluffing. Try me. Lyle has the wire transfer files. Check your phone, Mayor. She texted Dylan now. Dylan sent the photo to the mayor's address. The mayor's eyes widened as his phone buzzed, color draining from his face. Marcia, voice rising, cracked her polished facade. Do you have any idea how badly this looks? How could you do this to family? Her voice shook, but Carla heard the edge of pleading beneath the rage. I didn't do it to family. I did it for family, for my son. Reed died alone because of you. You locked him down here so you could rob this town blind. The henchman closest to Marcia, a younger man with a red beard, slipped uncertainly toward the door. The other, unsure, blocked his path. Marcia hissed, "You're as pathetic as your mother, always looking for handouts." Carla shook her head, voice steel. "This time I'm the one giving handouts. You want to face a headline or a judge?" The mayor was trembling now. "I'll call the demolition company. Please, let's not ruin careers here." Carla pressed, "Too late, Mr. Mayor, careers are over." Marcia lurched, reaching for Carla's bag. Carla stepped aside, tossing the USB to the red-bearded man. "That's your name on those logs, too. Read them." He caught it, glancing between all three, obviously shaken. Sirens in the distance growing closer. Lyle had come through. Marcia found her venom. "You think justice is a storm you can conjure on a whim?" Her mouth twisted. "Enjoy your little building. It's cursed, always has been." Carla said, "Better a curse exposed than a lie left standing." Dylan, peering through the glass, flashed her a thumbs up. The mayor slumped, defeated. "I resign there, just make them call off the police." Carla's reply was flat. "You quit, you leave Burnett, you make a statement, or I press send to every outlet from here to Raleigh." He nodded hollow. "Fine, it's done." As blue lights washed across the windows, Marcia shot Carla one last venomous glare and stormed into the rain, her power evaporated. Hook point nuclear option deployed. 2 hours later, Carla sat at Lyle's desk, signing sworn statements. The news broke by noon. Mayor resigns in embezzlement scandal, family linked to laundered grants. Marcia's face, tight as a drum, scrolled across every phone in Burnett. State investigators would take it from here, but Lyle grinned, folding the first edition. "You toppled the queen, Carla. How's it feel?" She exhaled, lungs raw. "Like standing on a high wire. I'm waiting to see if the net holds." Dylan, bouncing in the doorway, called, "Mom, the sparkle wash is trending. People want to donate quarters to save it." Lyle cackled. "Turns out that worthless laundromat was the filthiest secret in Burnett. Now it's gonna be the cleanest." Carla gripped her son's shoulder, steady at last. Marcia vanished from town, her resignation public, her houses for sale, her reputation a punchline in diner gossip. Mayor Atkins, shamed and stripped of authority, vanished soon after. Rumors circled about grand jury subpoenas and a cascade of local resignations. The sparkle wash, saved from demolition, became a symbol, its machines silent witnesses to years of hidden crimes. Neighbors returned her gaze in the street, no more side eyes, no more pitying laughter. Lyle bought her lunch, hot soup, a kind of victory. Dylan, emboldened, took charge, cleaning the basement. "We'll make this place shine for real, Mom, no more shadows." She ruffled his hair. "Let's make it a real family business, one people actually trust." With nothing to lose, she'd gambled everything, her fear, her hope, and most of all, her voice. Trust, she learned, begins with the secrets you refuse to carry. Sometimes, all it takes to end a dirty cycle is the courage to drag the truth into the harshest light. Not every coin is silver, but some are bright enough to buy a future. If you believe even the smallest gift can spark a revolution and that no one should have to make change alone, then you know what Carla does now. Even the dirtiest laundry can turn clean with the right hands. And in the back corner of Burnett, in a laundromat everyone thought worthless, Carla found not just power but the promise that maybe, just maybe, second chances are the best currency after all. They opened Sparkle Wash that Saturday with the same hesitant hope as the first spring sun after too much rain. Carla propped the door wide and shook out a rug caked with past lives. The sign above the register now read in her new nervous scrawl, "Under new ownership, all WSHES first load free." Her hands trembled as she hung up balloons Dylan and Lyle had blown up that morning, a pop of color against the drab linoleum and pitted walls. Burnett's Main Street was slow to trust any change, but word had caught like wildfire after the news broke. The last 3 afternoons neighbors came by not just to gawk but to ask if it was true, that the mayor's hands were dirtier than any mud-streaked overalls, that Marcia finally got her comeuppance, that Carla, who'd scuffed through town with nothing but a duffel and her kid, had somehow pulled off a miracle. By 10 o'clock, the first customers arrived, 2 women from the garden club, arms full of tablecloths and whispered apologies for how the town had treated her. Mrs. Dorsey from the bakery toted flour-dusted aprons. The librarian, Joyce, appeared with a cart of dish towels and a guilty smile, dropping coins into the new jar labeled Community Fund. Dylan darted between machines and the folding table, hauling loads twice his size. "It's weird, Mom," he called, voice bright, "but I think the town's kind of rooting for us now." Carla wiped her palms on her borrowed apron and tried to believe it, even as she checked over her shoulder every few minutes, expecting a shadow in Marcia's shape. But all that greeted her were the gentle thumps of tumbling sheets and the bubbling chatter of neighbors relearning how to talk to her. Just before noon, Lyle burst through the door, arms laden with a box of donuts and that manic glint in his journalist eye. "You would not believe the number of emails I got. Investigators want interviews. TV stations are circling. And listen," he leaned in, voice lowering, "someone from the governor's office called wanting to buy you lunch." Carla blushed so hard she almost dropped her mug. "I make a halfway decent cup of gas station coffee if that's what they want." Lyle grinned, holding out the donuts. "You made a decent revolution, Carla. People don't forget honesty in a place like this." Later, when the afternoon sun crept through the latticed blinds and illuminated the streaks on the tile, Carla stood alone beneath the humming fluorescence and let herself feel relief, pure and uncut, for the first time in months. The world was not new, but it was hers. Yet old habits die slow, and Burnett's wounds were not healed by headlines alone. It began with little things. The city council, scrubbed of its worst elements, though no less prickly, dropped in for routine inspections, all pointed questions and sour faces. Every week Carla received at least one anonymous letter. Some were handwritten threats, the ink shaky and desperate, "You'll pay for what you've done." Others were pleas for help, confessions of past bribes, secrets bled out in loping script. She kept the threats taped inside a battered locker in the basement, and the confessions in a shoebox marked second chances. It was Dylan's idea. "Everyone needs somewhere to start over," he shrugged, pushing the box to the back of the shelf between 2 cans of scouring powder. The business grew faster than Carla expected. By July, Sparkle Wash broke even barely. She hired Mrs. Dorsey to help in the mornings and offered Dylan a real weekly allowance for sweeping up and helping customers. Word spread that Carla always waived extra dryer time for families who needed it, that she'd drop everything to make change for a roll of quarters or help a frazzled new mother juggle her twins. Neighbors who once whispered about her now lingered for coffee and pie at the folding counter. A shy teenage boy came every Tuesday to wash his soccer kit. Carla noticed the bruises on his arms before she noticed the way he flinched at loud noises. When she quietly tucked a couple of granola bars into his backpack, he only looked at her once, meeting her eyes with ocean blue gratitude before he left. Sometimes, Carla caught her own reflection in the window glass at sunset, standing straighter than she had in years. She no longer jumped when the door jangled, except for one night in August when Lyle barreled in well after closing, voice buzzing with news. "Got a minute?" he whispered, urgency stitched into every breath. Carla nodded. Dylan was at a friend's house and the evening was quiet, all the dryers off, moonlight slanting into metal drums. She poured 2 mugs of instant and joined Lyle at the folding table. He slid a thin envelope toward her. "From the state, they're closing the investigation, but you're going to need a lawyer. Atkins is taking a plea. He's rolling on Marcia, who's fighting extradition from Miami of all places. It'll be messy." Carla's hands trembled around the mug. "So it's only halfway over." He nodded. "But you've got protection. The DA's office offered you immunity as long as you stick to your statement. They said they wouldn't mind if you made some kind of new start out of this place. Clean money for a change." Carla allowed herself a real laugh, shoulders loose. "You think Burnett will let me?" Lyle's smile was genuine, rare in someone who never stopped chasing the next scandal. You turned a punchline into a safe haven. I think Burnett will catch up. He stood, stuffing the empty envelope into his coat. You ever get tired of slinging soap? Come right for me. You tell the truth better than half my staff. I'll keep that in my back pocket, she answered, and his laughter was a comfort in the echoing quiet. Fall dusted into town with the scent of apples and damp leaves, and Carla discovered that the routine of the laundromat, unlatching sticky doors, sorting rags from linens, smoothing coins between her palms, offered a kind of peace she could never find in jobs where she wore a name tag and clocked out at 6. Dylan started 8th grade, taller than she remembered, all elbows and new opinions. He slid up to her on the first Friday after school, face pale. Some kids said you put Atkins in jail, is that bad? She crouched, brushing fluff from his sleeve. Some people think talking about what's wrong makes life harder, but it's scarier to let bad things grow in the dark, right? We told the truth, that's what matters. Dylan nodded, but he eyed her, still seeking reassurance in the spaces between her words. Are you sorry we came here? He asked, so softly that the clangs and pulses of the machines almost swallowed the question. Carla hugged him. He no longer fit beneath her chin. Not for a second. You gave me the courage, you and this town, even when it made me want to scream. Relief fluttered in him then. He grinned. I helped Lyle unpack all those news files. He said I should write for the paper someday. Beat him to it, she replied, nudging him, but don't ever start gossip columns, huh? Dylan's laughter was lighter than it had been in months. Sunday mornings, Carla swept the step, coffee in hand, and watched the sunrise bounce off the Sparkle wash sign. She learned how the shadows moved through the aisles, which machines rattled at odd hours, and which neighbors would insist on telling their entire life story over the scratching of quarters. Some customers still wanted to gossip about Marcia. Others, like Mrs. Dorsey, just wanted someone to listen. A month after their public reopening, a battered pickup pulled up and an old man she half remembered from her childhood stepped out. He wore suspenders, his hands knotted by arthritis. He shuffled to the counter, placed a red apple beside the register, and cleared his throat. I worked for Reed, watched how Marcia drove him down. Town called you trouble, but you saved us. The way you run this place, Reed would be glad. Carla blinked away the sting in her eyes. Thank you, I never really knew him, I was around enough. The old man shook his head. He looked out for the ones that stood up. He saw you, just didn't know how to show it. Maybe none of us did. His words, a benediction, lingered after he left. Winter edged into the mountains, slower than in her memory but just as cold. Sparkle Wash's heat failed on the first December morning. Carla and Dylan huddled beside the largest dryer, their breath fogging in the flickering light. Lyle called every handyman in Burnett, and 2 hours later the ancient boiler coughed back to life, the cost paid by a community collection left under the register. By then, Sparkle Wash had become more than a business. It was the town's notice board, rescue spot, confessor's booth, and once a makeshift shelter when a windstorm knocked the power out on half of Maine. Carla kept flashlights and extra blankets beneath the counter. Dylan organized a book exchange shelf by the dryers. One night, a woman with 2 kids arrived, shivering and out of breath. Carla recognized fear in her eyes, saw how tightly she gripped her children. Without a word, she unlocked the little office and brewed tea, pressed a sandwich into the woman's trembling hands. The woman wept, closed her eyes, and slept on the cot in the basement, her children curled against her sides. In the morning, the woman left a note, "Thank you, I'll never forget this," and a crumpled $10 bill with no return address. Dylan found the note first. Why do people run and then say thank you after? He asked. Carla folded him close, remembering every unkindness that ever sent her running. Maybe they're just not ready to believe a place can really be safe. Maybe our job is to keep it safe for the next person. That night she unlocked the confessions shoebox, added the note on top. The town changed in turns, pushing back against the worst of its old ghosts. Marcia's properties, auctioned off and picked apart, became a half-acre park and a thrift store. The mayor's mansion, long derelict, was soon to be a shelter for families in trouble. Carla joined the board, her vote the tiebreaker needed to dedicate the place to Reed's memory. She still woke some mornings with panic clutching her lungs, but the anxiety faded faster now. She let people see her worrying, never bothering with the cheerful masks. In the vulnerable, Burnett found room for its own honesty. By spring, Carla and Dylan planted marigolds outside the laundromat. Lyle wrote a column titled, "How One Wash Changed Everything." Tourists even started coming by, some hoping for a selfie beneath the Sparkle Wash sign, others hunting for real estate, quoting the story they'd read online. Carla let herself believe, just a little, that they'd built something lasting out of all the wreckage. The night before the one-year anniversary of Reed's death, Carla closed up late, lingering by the machines, thunder rumbling through the mountains as it had 12 months before. Dylan was asleep upstairs, an open library book across his chest. As she wiped down the last folding table, a small, sharp memory struck. Her own mother, standing in a yellow kitchen, hands cracked by work, humming as she scrubbed. For the first time, Carla felt no bitterness, only the echo of gratitude. For mistakes made and survived, for secrets faced and carried to the light, for the chance to hand her son a life not built on running. A tap at the glass startled her. She half expected some lingering survivor of Burnett's old guard or the ghosts of her own uncertainty, but it was Lyle, rain-soaked and grinning. Whole town's down at the diner. They're raising a toast to Sparkle Wash, 1 year clean, you coming. Carla hesitated, heart thrumming in the silence. Then she unlatched the door, laughed, and stepped outside into the scent of fresh rain and possibilities. As the laundromat faded behind her, a beacon of off-white tile and flickering neon, she realized she wasn't alone. The town that once handed her a joke had made her laughter real, given her a home she'd stitched together with honesty and grit. Trust, she'd learned, was made of 1,000 tiny acts, a free load of wash, a listening ear, an unlocked door when the night pressed hardest. The worst secrets dragged into the light lost their power. Second chances made all the difference. So she closed her umbrella, lifted her face to the drizzle, and walked with Lyle toward the glow of hope, knowing she could return to Sparkle Wash anytime, as its owner, its guardian, and now, at last, its heart. If you pass through Burnett, you'll see the marigolds shining and hear laughter rolling from the laundromat windows. You may find a second-chance shoebox or a cup of coffee poured by a woman whose hands no longer shake. If you do, toss a quarter in the jar and whisper your hope. Some coins are worth more than silver, they're catalysts and sometimes miracle enough to buy a future. And as for Carla and her son, in the town that had once bet against them, they found what matters most, a place to begin and proof that even the dirtiest load can turn out clean. All it takes is the courage to wash, rinse, and begin again.